close enough. Oh.
Oh, you should have got the towel.
Oh, no.
Thanks.
Premature again.
Thank you. Under the sink. Okay. Right?
On the left.
On the right. On the left of the right side of the room.
On the right of the left of the left of the right.
What's on the left of the right side?
Just the
you're
left
on the right
where there
side
are...
of the room.
You figured it out. Look at that. Perfect. This is Toasted Lavender, and we just opened a...
Modern Times. It's called Looking Backward.
All right.
And it is a barrel-aged blonde sour ale. And it is all over the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of had
Made a nice noise.
Yeah, it did. I hope we got that.
It was like champagne.
That looks...
It really looks like a champagne bottle.
It kind of does. Was it a cork or was it just...
No, it was
foamy.
just a
Cap.
cap.
Yeah,
We
that,
bought it
we
in
should have drank that a long time ago.
2018.
Yeah.
It's barrel aged. You can let it sit a little longer. Right?
I think we
Is
bought
it?
it when we did our maybe it was 2020 when we did San Diego.
Mm.
I
Yep.
don't know. We
That's
bought it
not
in
that
California.
long ago.
It's fine. Why don't you try it?
Okay.
While you're pouring, though, let's go to the next beer, and then we'll each have time to taste and then talk.
So I have Mario Tart, which is a kettle sour with coconut and pineapple. It is brewed by 8-Bit Brewing.
8-Bit. I've never heard of them. Where are they from?
They have a really cute logo.
Like,
It's like a little 8-bit beer stein with eyeballs that looks like a ghost on Mrs. Pac-Man.
Yeah. Mrs. Pac-Man.
Yeah. But I can't see where they're from.
Oh, no. I have to close that.
Our dogs
They're not from anywhere.
alerting us.
They're not from anywhere? There's no indication?
Let me use the internet.
All right. While you're doing that.
I'm going to say that the Modern Times is fine. It is a barrel-aged blonde sour ale.
Grapey or not really?
I guess it's just
Is
very
it tart?
Yeah, it's tart.
Okay.
So 8-Bit Brewing is located in Marietta, California.
Oh, wow. Marietta.
And this literally tastes like a pina colada. It's delicious. And the art on the can looks exactly like a scene from Mario Kart, hence the name Mario Tart. Look at the little banana peels and little mushrooms. I'm going to post a picture of this
I don't know
on our
anything about
social.
Mario Kart. I'm sorry.
Alyx,
I don't know.
is this true? Oh no.
Sorry, I don't know.
I have Pizza Port Brewing Company from Carlsbad, California, and it's a session IPA called Ponto, which I don't know what that means. It means something to someone. Pays homage to the southernmost beach and surf spot in Carlsbad. Lighter-bodied hoppy beer bursts with flavors of citrus and tropical fruit, thanks to a blend of American and New Zealand hops. Okay. Let's see.
I'm
Ponto.
looking forward to trying that.
It sounds promising.
And what do you have, Kai?
I have the Prairie Artisan Ales Peanut Butter and Jelly Squeeze. It's a sour ale with blackberry, blueberry, boysenberry, peanuts, and peanut butter. It is... Woo! Look at that color. It's like super...
It's like the color of your hat.
Yeah, it's like...
Or your eyeballs.
Yeah.
grape juice, like unfiltered
Looks
grape
like
juice
jam.
color.
It
or
looks
jam.
like
Yeah,
jam
it's
on
really...
your PB&J.
Yeah. All right. It's the color of jam.
All right.
Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, queers. I'm going to give a quick vote to Ponto. 4 1/4.
Yeah, 4 1/4 on that. Or this, or am I
You're
talking about-
next.
We're
Oh,
real
quick
jumbled
fire.
with our beers.
Oh shit. Okay.
Quick fire.
Your PB&J.
4.
All right, your modern times.
I don't know. I don't like it very much.
Okay, well
Like
then.
3.5.
All right. Pina colada. Lisa.
4.25.
Mario
Tart Colada Coastline.
4.25.
4.25.
All right, we got 2 winners. And we got a good one, and we got a
Dud.
A dud.
probably a dud because it sat in the refrigerator for so long.
Yeah, well.
Through no fault of its own.
Thanks for tuning in. We had a crazy idea for our Pride Month extravaganza of podcasts. And since it's June and Pride Month, we thought about like what kind of advice do you wish you could give your parents, like looking back on your whole experience coming out or just being like a queer person, keeping like the queer joy narrative in your mind. Do you wish something could have gone differently? Was there something that you thought was like A plus?
Did anyone have an A plus coming out? First of all,
We don't need to revisit.
No.
We
No,
tried
I
to
was
record
asking.
it once.
No, I don't
you-
think any of us did. I think we all know that that wasn't like a happy moment for any of us. And so that's why like we're kind of wanting to go on this in a different turn. And even like to add to that, what resources do you wish would have been available
Yes.
to you at that time?
Or what do you see like in today's society that you wish would have been there for you as a youth?
Heartstopper.
Yeah. I mean, amen to that.
And
That's
recording.
so true. That's it.
10
That
minutes.
sums it up.
Should we introduce ourselves?
I don't know.
Do you think anyone knows who we are?
You
Everyone
know
knows
us,
who we are.
but just in case, I'm Linsey and I use she, her, and hers pronouns.
I'm Kai and I use he, him pronouns.
I am Alyx and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Lisa and I use she, her pronouns.
We want to talk about how things could have been better.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Shoulda,
Right.
And I love that you said Heartstopper because
coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I've seen so many things on social media, Instagram especially, about how like Elle and that show particularly are just like life-saving for kids to see a representation of just some kind of normality. And I love that. I love that you said that because I feel like that is absolutely a resource and a thing that today's kids, even only in one show, and hopefully that sets the stage for others, but like that's absolutely worth mentioning. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, and the other thing, so in our last episode, we joked about the L word. But like, for me, that was a very monumental sort of time in my life. And I was watching this show and I was also experiencing these feelings that the characters had. But they were adults and this was like adult television. This was like Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is not cable. This isn't like TV MA. It was like kind of R, you know? Like cause it was gay.
Even, like
Because it was gay. It was
even
R plus,
NC-17, honestly. Oh, we would buy the DVDs. Me and my little posse would buy the DVDs used on eBay and then like watch them together when somebody's mom wasn't home.
Oh my
Like,
God.
It was so
But to me, that just like underscores the Heartstoppers thing because that seems way more accessible.
and it's not like it's safe to watch. It's safe to watch. It's not like uncomfortable. I don't
Yeah.
think any.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like it would just be fairly average for any person to be watching it.
Some of those scenes in the L word, like,
Are hard to watch.
well, I'm like, you and I had just started dating and it was the last season and you were just watching it like every single week. And like your mom was in the room sometimes and like,
Not that.
I don't
think
know.
very often.
I don't know.
That
Other
would've
people
been
were in
too
the
weird
room.
for me.
It was just
I can think of quite a few scenes from that show that I would not want anyone else in the room at all, let alone my mother.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so Heartstopper doesn't have any of those.
So we're kind of hosting this as an open dialogue situation. So
Right. And I had a lot of ideas. Do you have anything that you want to talk about first?
I mean, I don't.
Do you have any ideas?
do it.
Kick it off.
All right. So, I mean, of course, there are things that I wish that my parents would have reacted differently and that we could have had a better experience. But I think at that time, there weren't as many resources and there weren't as many things, again, like the show, like Heartstopper, like there weren't anything that like normalized anything about having your kid come out.
Right.
And so for me, I came out trans. I transitioned later in my life, and something that I have been thinking about that's sticking hard with me is that I wish I would have had like trans elders, like people in my life that I saw that had gone through this, that were like at a later stage in their life.
Old and wise.
Yeah, and who had just like navigated, like there's so many firsts, you know, that that I have navigated, that I wish that I would have seen somebody else that I could be like, hey, what's an easier way to do this? How do I get this resource? How do I try to get it covered? You know, just to see somebody and talk with somebody that has gone through it firsthand. And if you think about it, there's not really that much of an older generation. Like there are some, but it's just now in this time.
Right.
Anyway, my experience is just that I have some friends now that are older and trans, and I just like love being around them. It's just a really fun, vibey feeling, but like there aren't that many. And I hope that the next generation that's younger than me is going to have like a huge, or at least a bigger community of that, and people that they can go to who have gone through some of these things and can be there as resources. Yeah. And I think help, you know, to tie it all back in with what I said at the beginning, like that really could help families and parents of trans children. So, yeah. And of course there are support groups and things. I know there are organizations even here that do support groups for that, but I just think the more people that have experience with it and know about it, and it just doesn't need to be so weird.
Or like just have like the vocabulary to talk about.
Yeah, like my mom the other day said, we saw my mom the other day and she said, oh, so-and-so's husband transed, right? And, transed? Yeah, and then I was like, and my dad was sitting next to her and he was like, is that an okay word to say? And I was like,
I don't know.
Yeah, like we were all just kind of like,
what are you trying to say?
Trans.
Well, she's trying to say transition.
No, but that's our reaction was, we were like, what do you mean by that? Like, it's
like train.
Yeah. Train. She was trying to say transition.
But she was trying to like say it.
She just didn't have the right words, but she had.
It was close.
It wasn't offensive to me. I don't know if it would be offensive to somebody else.
It's a shortened word, and so then she just made it.
Yeah.
Past tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She knows her son is trans, right. So before he.
At some point you trans.
At some point I trans.
This isn't a grammar class.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
At some point
you got wet.
Yeah.
And you trans.
And I just burned. Yeah, sounds so like I mean, I think that would have been really good for my parents to have. Yeah. To have resources, to have other people that they could go to, and to have good examples of people, because I feel like all the examples or not all of them, but many of the examples of trans people are not good, like, and they're kind of silly, you know? Or
It's like, here's this murder victim in Law and Order SVU.
yes,
Or here's
yes.
the main character in this drama where they get murdered because they're trans. Or like, here's a prostitute who gets murdered because she's trans or whatever. Like, that's it.
There aren't good representations of trans people who are in the older generation who are living
Just
happy,
fine.
successful lives and just going about their business and just doing just dandy.
Yep.
And I think that when there is that, or when there's more of that, I think it is going to be life-saving for a lot of people. I
Well,
really
if
do.
it's successful, would you even know?
Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, they might
Yeah.
just blend right in, and that's a great thing for them, but then we lose the visibility to younger generations.
Yeah.
But at that point, does it just become like so common that everybody knows a trans person and like it's not really a...
You don't have
Doesn't
to
have
be
a
like,
secret,
yeah. And
you
I
know?
think, isn't that ultimately, I mean, I guess everybody has their idea.
I think when you don't need a backstory.
You just are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then there's none of the explaining ever really. It's just you are.
And then maybe like one of your favorite movies ever, you just find out somehow that your favorite character was trans.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. Cool. You
And
know,
it's
like
just not a thing.
it's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Having more visibly queer people in my life growing up probably would have been like huge, just
Yeah.
to have like a vocabulary.
I love that we were on the same page with that.
Yeah. And I can really only remember one person who was very visibly like stereotypically gay in my life, and that was a teacher in elementary school. And it was so weird that like nobody really, I don't know, we're all in elementary school, so nobody is like profound enough to just say like our teacher is gay and leave it alone.
How did you know?
Because he was like Jack McFarland in Will and Grace.
No, that's a bad reference for me. But go on.
Okay, well,
Very
he was just
feminine.
very
Stereotypical,
gay. Yeah.
like a list.
Yes.
I got the visual.
Yes.
Immediately.
Got it.
I think that this is my next point, is that my brother, there was one night I remember my brother asked my parents what the word gay meant. And they were all at the kitchen table, and I had like already finished my dinner and I was in the other room.
And you're older. This is your little.
Yes, he is like 4 years younger than I am.
So how old are you at this time? Do you think?
Maybe like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And I remember, so I was in the other room and I could hear them talking. My parents are like stumbling over, like, you know, when two boys love each other or whatever they said. Like, it felt like it took an hour and a half to get through whatever they
Some
said.
semblance of an explanation.
And I just remember feeling really like uncomfortable and almost embarrassed, like while I'm listening.
Do you think they were talking about you?
No, they were just talking about what the word gay meant.
But you were embarrassed.
I don't know what this
Probably
means.
because shame was immediately associated.
I felt extremely like my skin was on fire, uncomfortable. I remember this like very vividly.
So maybe you had a hunch.
I don't know.
Yeehaw.
And so they've like finished saying whatever they're going to say to my brother. And then they're like, Alyx, we know you're listening. Like, did you hear all that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is
To make
this
sure
their
you knew the definition of gay.
passive aggressive?
That is-
But they like, I was in the other room. Like, nobody looked me in the eye. Like, there was no.
Oh,
But
that's
they had a
uncomfortable.
feeling you were
They
listening.
wanted to be like, we've had the talk with both of our children.
Oh.
That's
I don't know.
odd.
Wow.
And it's so like shameful to not be able to even like.
Yeah.
to like have an eye-to-eye conversation about it. It's just like you heard it through the wall.
Yes.
Yeah. Like when you hear your parents arguing about
Right. It's
picking
that
you up
same
from
like
school or whatever.
you're
and-
like overhearing it and you, like your ears are on fire, you know, like that's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the only time that the concept of queerness or like gay people was ever talked about in my house. So if I could go back in time and give my parents any advice, I would tell them like maybe choose a different way to go about discussing this.
Like, let's have a face-to-face discussion.
yeah,
yeah.
just like your mom pulls you aside one day, you know?
No.
And then like maybe your dad a different day was like,
We know you like playing baseball.
so you think you'll get married one day to a dude?
Oh my
I don't know if that's the right way to bring it up either.
Well, what do you do? Okay, this is the point of the episode. What do you do? How do you approach that conversation?
That's the only way it would have been presented to me is like,
right.
do you
That's
think
the only
you're gonna,
way they
like,
would have
marry
known
a
how.
missionary and go through the temple?
Right. That's their reference point.
Right. Anyways.
So when we say, how would I wish my parents would have reacted, like, we have the benefit of time.
Yeah, but the thing is, dude, we're not like this show isn't targeting Mormon parents, and
No, I'm not
the matter of the
Mormon
fact
parents.
Right.
is both of our parents are not won't listen to any of the advice we have to give.
And
anyway.
it's done. They had their chance. and
Right.
No,
they
but-
chose to do it the way they did it.
Yeah.
I hope that people can listen to this and be like, wow, I'm doing it way better than the last generation of parents, you know, like the boomers or whatever.
And I see many parents in my life, even of like Mormon parents who are a lot more chill about
Yeah.
these kinds of things with their kids. I don't
Well,
know how-
hasn't the church sort of like backtracked a little?
No,
Not really.
not
Or, like,
really.
But
With
a
soft
little.
language they have, but
Right.
the rules are clear.
But a little.
Me.
I don't,
They've sort of put their
They've-
hands up.
They've backed off on
They've
on
made
the
some
really aggressive
artificial statements about
things.
how Jesus loves everyone, basically.
Okay, well, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. So the next point that I made is that if I could go back in time and give myself a piece of advice or just like say 5 words to myself or whatever, I wish that I could ask my 14-year-old self to think about why I was so like interested in queer media and like watching all these movies and reading books about queer people, or because I didn't really get I was like into girls until I was a little bit older.
So just that you would have been a little more introspective with yourself earlier on.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been so like harsh with myself
Yeah.
for a couple of years. Like it would have saved me a lot of angst.
Yeah. And if it wouldn't have been like something you had to like hide, then
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't have
Right.
waited however many more years.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
If somebody could just like smack me up the side of the head when I was a youth and just be like,
Just do
you
it.
can like want to kiss a girl. Like it's okay. You don't feel like you can't do that.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot like very helpful.
Like you're not a fucking freak for wanting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, when I kissed a girl for the first time, my first thought was that I was going to hell.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's fucked up.
I was like, well, did it.
Yeehaw.
Here
Going
we are.
Straight to hell.
Sealed the deal.
So,
Bye.
Wow, look at your life now.
now what?
I'll cheers to that, dude.
Well, cheers.
Yeah.
There was no fire and brimstone. Just for any of you
Not
first
yet.
timers out there,
Not that we
don't
know of.
worry. I didn't get transported straight to the depths of hell in that moment, and my life didn't get any shittier. It actually just felt a lot better to match my insides and outsides. But I did have that thought. That was the first thought. I was like,
You're like,
ooh,
oh,
did
shit.
it. Yeah, it's like the no turning back now kind of thing. It was like, oh, shit.
Even though you knew it was coming, you'd been building up, I'm sure.
No, I was like, if I cross this line and I'm wrong, going to hell. Going straight to hell.
Is this worth my eternal soul?
Apparently it was.
Hey, we got married.
I like it.
I think it's good for maybe younger people to hear that.
It's true, though. I mean, that was ingrained. It wasn't like I made that up. It was from external shit.
It's like
You know?
just kind of the culture.
It's like a thing that I had been building up to, and then it happens, and then I felt like, well, I did. Yeah, I really made a choice.
Yeah.
You know, like
I
had
was
to
at a
choose.
crossroads.
yeah, I sold my soul to the devil to play guitar.
Can I go back into the divergency?
Go for it, yeah.
I remember like telling myself or maybe telling other people that I did make a choice. Like I could get married to a dude and like be miserable the rest of my life, but I chose to like be honest with myself. And in that way, like being a openly queer person is a choice.
Well, yeah,
I don't feel that way anymore. Like I don't feel that way anymore.
Society
but I remember
forces you to make a choice.
I remember like saying that
Yeah,
and feeling okay about it.
it's not a choice because it's a natural, real choice. It's like an artificial choice.
Well, but you could choose to remain closeted or choose to not act on your, become celibate or whatever. Like,
Well, I just mean like from society's perspective at the time.
okay.
If you lived in a society where there wasn't that pressure,
Oh,
then
yeah.
my first thought would not have been, I'm going to hell.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all
It
I
wouldn't
mean.
be weird. It would just...
It would just be like, this is
I'm
happening.
having a
I'm
kiss
having
with
a
another
kiss.
person.
I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to someone and I'm going to act on it. It doesn't have to be this whole
Yeah, this whole torture thing of like,
existential crisis
Right.
in that moment.
It's just reminded me, like, doing these thought exercises, how hard it was to be a teenager. And, like, your brain just isn't developed. And you don't get it. Like, you don't understand that it's not the end of the world every day. I just want to give props to the teenagers out there.
it's
Props.
hard being.
Yeah, I don't want to hang out with
Jesus.
you, but you've got a hard life. And you know what?
Your feelings are
It
valid.
might get better. I don't know.
Let's not
Hopefully.
invalidate feelings because all
This
those
is queer joy.
feelings- Hey, those feelings in my teens were joyful. They were conflicting, but they were joyful to me. Like, I don't look back and feel tortured by everything. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot
I
of
found
joy.
a place. It was
Yeah.
hard sometimes to exist in that place, but like, I found it.
So I thought about specifically the parent question. So if I was to go back and give my parents or any parents now who are faced with their child coming out to them,
Faced.
they might not be expecting it,
Yeah,
you know?
for sure, yeah.
It's something that they need to deal with. I would say just listen. Like, don't let your own emotions take over because it's not about you. As much as you're probably questioning every parenting decision you've ever made or how you feel about that community, those people, what you think that community is, whatever notions you have in your mind, it's not about you. And to just shut your fucking mouth and listen to what they have to say. Tell them you love them, give them a hug, and then just wait to have anything to say. Like, process it. You yourself have to process it. And whatever you say in that moment is probably not going to be something that you're proud of or that you're going to be happy with later.
Unless it's like,
I love you.
I love
Yes.
you no matter what.
Yeah.
So just say those
You're not
things.
going to regret saying that.
Yes, give them a hug. Tell them you love them no matter what. And then do some research. Like, meet with other parents, read some books, find some queer adults and talk to them before you have any like further conversations. I think that is, you know, if you're not educated on something, don't go spouting shit to someone who's that vulnerable. I was also thinking about advice I would give myself. And I think as I've gotten older, I've realized how diverse the queer community is. And that's something I maybe didn't realize right when I came out. And I think that is a really powerful thing that could help the younger generation, that just because you see the Jack McFarland on TV or you see the stereotypical softball lesbian or whatever, like that doesn't mean
That doesn't have to be you.
yes, that doesn't have to be you. We love our Jacks and we love our softball gals, but that doesn't mean that has to be you. And
Right, it doesn't mean every
That's a
lesbian's
really
a
good
softball
point.
lesbian.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I just like I've always been femme, and I didn't like necessarily know how that would change once I came out, but it's like I get to pick and choose the pieces that are just me, and it doesn't have to be like anything other than that.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It is hard.
I like that. I wish I would have like also just queer, you know, queer is queer, and it doesn't mean that you have to fit any type of box.
And it's okay if you're not like noticeably queer the second you walk into a room. Like, you get to hold that space however you want to hold it, and you get to present yourself however you want to. So whether that's being super like overtly whatever, or being a little more reserved, or being somewhere in the middle, like that's your call, but it doesn't change your queerness, and it doesn't take anything away from your identity.
Yeah, yeah. It's not invalidating if you're not visible.
Right.
Well, and that just kind of goes to stereotypes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of evolution, is to sort of like break down smaller bits and pieces of who we are, instead of just generalizing people based on stupid things like the color of their skin or like whatever, right?
The gay teacher that I had, he drove a purple Toyota Tacoma.
Oh.
The little one, the purple one.
As you sit before us in a purple t-shirt.
I know. Well, and then like I remember kids talking about, I know he's gay because he drives a purple truck.
Oh.
And you're like, fuck yeah.
Come on.
Oh.
Come on, like
You're
boys
rooting
wear
for
blue
him.
and girls
Yeah,
wear
yeah.
pink.
It was a lot of that.
Come on.
But then I
Yeah.
ran into that teacher at Pride.
Oh, well. So you're like, okay, well.
Like,
I like your
hello,
purple
Mr. So-and-so. Yeah.
My dad had a forest green one, and he's gay. I don't know. Does that mean anything? I guess it doesn't.
It
have
means
to.
he was alive in the 90s.
Yeah, it means he bought a truck in the 90s.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, that's true.
actually his wedding colors when he married the lady he married after my mom was forest green and purple.
90s.
There must be
90s.
something.
Yeah, interesting.
Weird.
90s.
I wish that I would have maybe not even I wish that. Scratch that. I think it's important for people coming out to understand that just because you are like coming out with this confidence, or maybe you don't have confidence, but you're going through this experience that you feel like you need to, you've made the decision to come out, that the relationships aren't necessarily going to stay the same, and that's okay. I feel like that's something that was, I don't know, that was something that I've thought about a lot, that there's kind of these like moments where you're like, I'm just not going to come out to this person because I don't want this relationship to change, but
Okay. Yeah.
you're not being your authentic self, and it's okay for those relationships that aren't meaningful, or those people who aren't going to be supportive of you, or whatever issues they have. It's okay for those people to kind of melt away, and the people who are going to be there for you to step up. And it's kind of a sacrifice that you have to make. But I don't think that's something you necessarily think about before, and you kind of just expect everything to either be absolutely destroyed, like everything's going to be annihilated, or everything to stay exactly the same. And reality is it's right in between. Some things will go away and some things will stay. But that's actually a good thing, even though it's hard. Like, that's actually the central part of queer joy. Like, where you will bloom after that is those people who stay there and support you, and the toxic people that leave you the fuck alone.
Right.
Or maybe they're not toxic and we can just like give them space to like process their own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they're just not super supportive, and so they're just not in your immediate.
And you just sort of outgrow them a little, but just because you got a head start doesn't mean they can't like catch back up. And you, like, if they're not ready to hear it, great. If they're rude to you, that's one thing. But like, if they're just not ready to blow up part of their world for being like guilty by association sort of thing or whatever, like, okay.
Yeah. I just know there's people I was super close with before I came out that I never thought in a million years I would ever not be close with them.
Yeah.
And then it's like they've literally been MIA for the past 10 years of my life, which I never, and so I've accepted that they're just like never going to be a part of my life anymore, which is actually a good thing.
Right. Like, probably overall.
Yes. That's like, that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
But you have to like accept that there's going to be some changes.
Because you got to think, like, just as hard as it was for you to come to grips with your own reality, now they have to come to grips with their secondhand reality of having like a friend that goes against whatever belief systems they have. And it's probably way easier to just like get rid of that friend than to,
instead of thinking critically and being like,
Yeah.
well, my friend Lisa.
to just disassociate and be
Yeah.
like, well, I don't want to go down with that ship or whatever, right? Like, you, like, that's also a defense mechanism. And I think it's important to just maybe not take it personally is what I'm trying to say. And it feels very personal, of course, you know, like, of course it does. But in the same way that we're asking for like flexibility, like, let's give flexibility to others.
Yeah. And it also creates space in your life for your chosen family that will eventually fill in some of those gaps.
Exactly.
And life is ebb and flow of people anyway. So I feel like this is just like kind of a extreme time.
But that's why it's important to also be who you are. So you can just go with the tide a little, you know, and it's not so disrupting to your core of who you think you are.
Well, and if you're ready to like be whoever you are and be comfortable with that, then when somebody else that's close to you like says, oh, I'm bi or I'm gay or my kid is trans or whatever, like, it's not, you're ready to support them also, and just like,
It's not so shocking and
yeah. All right, well,
I don't know if I followed, were there rules?
Oh, there's not rules. This isn't we really made this as like an open dialogue discussion. So.
I don't think I have any very specific advice other than if you're hiding who you are and you're in the closet, make sure you have a nice lock. Like the same way you would lock up a good bike. Like, get a nice, whatever that means.
Right.
It's not a purely physical like lock, but like however you're hiding yourself, if you're not ready, clamp it down.
if you talk in your sleep, lock the door.
If you live with your grandma and she goes through your backpack,
Just up your...
you wouldn't suspect the
Diary.
grandma.
It's the grandma every time.
Grandma. She knows.
Yeah, or maybe
Grandmas
just like
know.
don't.
Burn the evidence.
Yeah, don't have a diary where you.
Yeah,
If
don't
you're-
have a diary.
Yeah, don't be dumb.
I'm
like,
sorry.
don't keep notes from your girlfriend in your backpack in the front pocket, okay? Because
You're going to want to keep all the notes.
The first pocket.
You're not going to need the notes ever again.
You won't.
Just throw them away. That is my
You'll
second
read
piece of
them
advice.
later on life
I
and
still
be like,
have 'em. I
oh,
still have 'em.
Horribly
these are
cringy.
cringy.
So bad.
Just let it live fondly in your memories.
Yeah.
right?
At the end of the day, throw it away.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Amen.
Oh, that's
I would like
good.
to cheers to
At
that.
the end of the day,
Throw it away.
I mean, for the most part, you know, not everything.
Always.
If it's special, just eat it.
Always.
let it become a part of you.
I have some fucking notes. Oh, that'd be some shit. Maybe we could do a Patreon exclusive where we read our girlfriend's notes.
Absolutely
Oh,
not.
honey, do you have some?
Yes. I'm gonna eat them tonight.
Okay, good.
Fry them up in some butter.
There's not gonna be any butter involved with paper. What's with the butter?
I don't know. It makes everything taste good.
Like, so it's soggy?
It tastes like butter. I don't know. Butter tastes good to me.
Imagine frying up little pieces of paper and some
crispy.
butter. I think I have like one of those ice cream gallon buckets full of notes that I left at my mom's house.
I know.
Forever
I have
ago?
shoe boxes. Those are my
Yeah,
Oh my
and
God.
I have no idea what happened to them.
shoe boxes.
Kind of like you're gonna cry.
I just feel so cringy about the high
Yes,
school notes.
all
They
of the
make me
notes are so bad.
They're bad.
uncomfortable.
It doesn't matter how serious and cute you think they are. Just throw them away.
I have a piece of advice.
I saw you after first period.
Imagine those notes lived in infamy for the rest of the time on the internet, because that is what's happening to kids right
I know.
now.
Gross.
I know.
That sucks. It's like in your personal file forever.
Forever.
And ever. And ever.
Yeah,
And ever.
dude.
So bad.
All right, so here's another piece of advice I have for you. Get a pager.
Don't have a social
The year's
media.
Don't have a
2022.
I don't
The
even
year
know where
is
you can buy those,
1996.
but okay.
Pretend like you're in 1996 because you're doing it anyway. I saw you at Kilby Court.
I saw your
Just
Jinkos.
get a pager and go 100%.
And then you're just texting like, remember we said
CULART.
L8
yeah, it was 8.
R Kai late
Kai obviously never had a pager.
Kai is so much younger than us.
Did you ever do the where it was like hell because it was like 4 upside down and then 3 and
Yes.
then 2 sevens
Or boobs on the calculator.
Oh,
where you could spell naughty words.
Boobs.
Yeehaw!
That's like
Boobs.
boobs.
And then you're like, hey,
it's the
look at that. It says boobs.
it's also like the secret like
I got
keyword to
you.
meet up later.
Oh my god. That's so silly.
We had pager codes that like didn't look like words. They were just codes,
187.
and then you had to know what that meant, like
187.
on an undercover cop.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Get a
but
pager.
Oh.
I kind of wish I still had. You know, it'd be funny if I found it. I'm like,
I think I still have mine somewhere.
do you?
Remember
I
I found
have
that
to.
laminated paper of all the police
know.
codes?
Yes.
All the walkie-talkie codes?
Yeah.
We should
You really
use
think we
those.
have it?
I kind of do.
Here's Queer Joy!
Sounds like an 80s news segment.
Queer joy.
Okay, well, here we go.
Lisa with our queer joy, our first queer joy of the night. What do you say?
My queer joy is I had someone come out to me recently, and I'm going to keep them anonymous, obviously, but it was very joyful that someone confided in us this very thing we're talking about right now. And I feel like it was a very positive experience, and yeah, I felt a lot of emotions, but I am feeling very joyful and hopeful for their future, and that's all I have to say.
Did you feel caught off guard?
Absolutely. And I cried multiple times for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Like it was a very like emotion filled experience, but it was, now that I've had time to process it and think about it, like I feel really grateful that they felt safe coming to us, and that even though they're a younger person who's going to have some trials and hardships like we've all had, they have a really bright future ahead of them, and I feel like I'm really excited for them.
Do you feel like they had like a little bit of a head start on you at their time in life?
Absolutely.
Like, do you feel like they recognized who they were sooner than you did? Like, or came to
Yes.
terms with it sooner than you did?
Yeah.
That's hopeful.
Yes.
That's evolution.
Absolutely.
So did you kind of like think of what you wanted to talk about today with like through this lens?
Kind of, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
very fresh, and I had the opportunity to talk to them not like face to face. They came out through a message.
Other means, right?
Yeah, and I was grateful for that because I had some time to put my thoughts together and say exactly what I want to say, which I'm proud of the way I responded, and I feel like I could put a lot of thought into it, and I feel like that was a gift that they gave me because I could really like craft exactly what I wanted to say, and I did think about it from the lens of like, okay, what did I need to hear in that moment, and like how do I not make it about me in any way and just like let it be about them in this moment. And I feel like that's an experience I'm always going to remember.
That's really cool. And I've never thought about being like on the other end of coming out and how you have to respond to that. Like
Yeah.
in a way where, yeah, like it's not about you and it's not about like how you feel about it. And it's this person and the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And
how you react in that moment is going to like set the tone for like other people they come out to and how they feel about
Right.
themselves. Like it's like a heavy thing.
and if you just like,
But you've been chosen for a reason.
right.
Because you're capable. Or they think you're capable
well, I felt honored.
of receiving that information.
I don't know if I felt very happy in that moment that me and Kai are visible as an openly queer couple, because I think that gave them some courage to have this conversation with us. But it's interesting. Yeah, I never thought that we would necessarily have this experience where we're not having children. It's like, who else is going
Right.
to come out to us?
Right.
Like, you know, like it's just not something you really think about besides maybe friends or people who it's not the same as like a young person coming out to you as like the first person they come out to.
Right. Well, do you have like anything that you would want to say to this person specifically without like outing them in any way? Just like I don't know.
I think that they have an extremely bright future ahead of them, and I have no doubt that they're going to go on to be an extremely successful and happy, well-adjusted queer adult. And that's all any of us can hope for. And I like genuinely see that in this person. That's all.
Can I riff on well-adjusted queer adult
Yeah.
for my queer
Riff.
joy? I feel like a well-adjusted queer adult. And yesterday, so I think we've mentioned on our podcast that we like landscaped our front yard, which was a big decision because it's like not cheap and it's something we could probably do on our own, but it would just take a really long time. But we decided to do it, and spending time in a space that I chose to like invest in and like make my day-to-day life better. I feel like a well-adjusted queer adult. Like my neighbors, when I'm in the front yard, come down and talk to me, and they have to like talk to me.
Because you're there in the front yard.
Because I'm there in the front yard, and I've got the like pride flag flying in the window, and I'm like, and I feel
front yard.
I just feel comfortable, and I just feel like I'm finally just sort of like creating my way and living how I want to live and be who I want to be. And I'm sure not all my neighbors love my flag, and I'm sure not, whatever, but it feels good to just drop all of the extra stuff and just like live in my space and be in my space. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I feel like that thing, as bougie as it may sound, like has changed how I feel about my space and how I interact in my space. And it's my home, and I used to hate the front yard.
I don't think that sounds bougie, because like you now are like going out there and sitting out there and enjoying it and like using it, and it's an extension of your space now, rather than just like a yard that you have to maintain. It's now like an extension of your usable space that you're going out and enjoying, and like that's extending your quality of life. Yes, to your needs. I've
customized my space to my needs, which is what we all need to do as queer people. Is we have to customize our space, and it sometimes is very hard to do that.
Yeah. Well, and then people have to like walk down the street and look at us in the eyes while we're drinking a beer, sitting outside on our porch, being all queer with the flag behind us, and they have to like see
acknowledge
us.
you,
and be like, oh, they have a nicer yard than we do. Oh,
fucking
so now it's bougie.
Fucking queer.
But
stepping it up.
It reminds me when we moved into our first place, and like it was just totally ours, and we could do whatever we wanted with it, and like we could be completely comfortable.
I remember, I literally remember just like daydreaming about that every second of my life, from like the time that I was 14 until the time I moved out of my parents' house. Is like I would get that graph paper and like draw out like how my apartment was gonna look and how I was gonna have things decorated. Like I just wanted to run my own life. And like kind of to piggyback on what you were saying, like sometimes you just have to look around and be like, and for us all now, like I feel like all of us here are like fairly well adjusted queer adults. We're the elders. We're living our lives. We're, for the most part, like doing pretty well.
We're surviving.
We're making our spaces how we want them to be, and like making them our little queer units. And like, I wish I could have told myself back then when I was coming out and going through all the things, like, you're gonna have your time and it's gonna be okay. There is space for you, and you're gonna have your time. It's just not right now, so just hang in there. I have a couple little snippets of queer joy, and the first one is the little rainbow market that me and Lisa went to on Saturday or Sunday. Saturday. It was fun because I just like happened to have the day off, and we didn't have any plans, which is never how our life is. And so it was just felt very leisurely, and we were like, oh, this is happening today. Let's go check it out. And it was great. We walked in, and the second we walked in, our friends were like running the door, and they just like immediately came over and wristbanded us, and we're like, the beer station's over there. But
just knew what we were looking for already on a Saturday afternoon.
And yeah, but I don't know, it made me really happy to see, like, and it was small, but it was fairly well attended, and it was backed well. There was musicians, like good musicians that were playing out there, and it was similar to that event we went to last year, but it was just like bigger than that.
Really?
that event that we went to with Talia Keys, but it was like they had turned all the, or like a section of the Monarch hallways into like queer vendors and done like a little market
That's cool.
thing.
Rainbow Market.
Yeah, and it makes me really happy to see Ogden doing shit. I love it. So that, and then I had this lovely woman and her family come in to Lavender Vinyl a few weeks ago, and they were drawn in by the trans flag that we have hanging in the window. And they came in and were just like so excited about our shop, and turns out her son is trans, and all their family's super supportive, and they wanted to support the plant sale, and they like took pots and then brought additional plants and came in, and just like, I've never met them, I've never seen them before until this, and it's like they see what we're doing and they want to support it, and we're drawn in because of the queerness.
And there's a place for you.
And there's a place for them, and they were drawn in, and now they're like a part of our little community, you know, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what all this is about. That's what this podcast is about. It's what the zine is about. It's what all of my little projects that I want to be a part of are about, is like, I want people to have a little space. So
now,
mention one more thing.
yeah.
yeah, look at us all having extra things to say today.
So the rainbow letters for the Weber Queering the Archived.
Yes.
So the Rainbow Letters is a collection of remarks from attendees of the Northern Utah Pride events, online survey responses, and the Ogden Rainbow Letters exhibit. The main questions asks, what would you like people in the future to know about being a member of the LGBTQ plus community in Northern Utah? That's the main question. And then
I love this.
other questions, which we probably should have just asked on the podcast, but that's okay. How do you express your identity? Have you ever felt different, and why? As a member or ally of the LGBTQ plus community in Northern Utah, what would you tell your younger self? So let me
I
repeat
feel
that.
like we're just like
Pretty
right
much
on
our
par
whole
with them
episode.
today. Yeah.
What does community mean to you? Which I feel like you just answered. And what does it mean to belong? So
I feel like we're just like right on.
should we
course
just
with
give
them
them a copy of this
of our
podcast?
transcript?
So it says the responses to the questions are collected on index cards and displayed on the second floor of Ogden Union Station. We hope the exhibit and powerful responses can share insight on the thoughts of the community located in Davis, Morgan, and Weber counties and inspire future generations. To add your responses, visit the exhibit at Ogden Union Station or click on the Add Your Rainbow Letter on the website, linked in the bio of the Weber Queering the Archive Instagram account.
What's your queer joy, Alyx?
My queer joy is just adding a little something to all of your queer joys today.
You're like the salt and pepper on the
I'm the
top.
salt and pepper of all y'all's
you are.
entrees.
Yeah.
Wait, salt and pepper or salt and pepper?
Oh, salt and pepper.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
You
Harder.
looked right at me and then just
Yeah.
said salt and pepper.
I knew I couldn't live up to it.
You couldn't say pepper.
Yeah.
Say it.
No,
Come on.
I don't want to.
Salt and pepper.
Nah.
Like Peppa the Pig.
No.
No.
Peppa the Pig.
Peepa?
Oh.
Close. Salt and pepper.
Oh.
I don't know.
You want a
about
little
that.
salt and pepper on that?
No. Oh my god.
I feel uncomfortable now.
Okay. Peepa? What makes that uncomfortable?
I don't know. You started it though, and all of a sudden I'm getting shade for it just because I repeated what you said.
Well,
Do you have something to say, Kai?
no, I do not.
I hope not.
I have
All
nothing
right.
to say.
Hey,
I'm
you
I'm
guys.
sorry, I didn't mean that.
It's
in a
our-
rude way.
It's our 1 year anniversary of recording this podcast.
It's exactly to the day, apparently.
I think that calls for a cheers.
Cheers,
to my
cheers.
Oh my god.
Thanks for being a part of it with
1
us,
year,
you guys.
1 whole year with us.
and
One more year. You've been listening to a lot of
You know,
Tame
that
Impala.
song's been stuck in my head. Thanks.
Alex has been listening to a lot of Tame Impala.
I love them. I get
Yeah.
it.
All right, this
All
has
right.
been Toast Lonesy Podcast.
What was
Everyone
that?
do an accent.
I don't wanna do
You
that
do an
accent.
I
accent.
don't like accents.
It could be a cartoon voice. For
This has been Toasted Lavender Podcast.
And teenager brains, like, I wish that you could explain to a teenager how stupid they were.
but you can't.
But you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember when I would talk to adults as a teen and being like, they don't get it. I
get
am
it.
an
My
adult.
God, they just don't understand.
understand.
Which
how
is so
smart I am.
absurd.
It is absurd. There's no
I
other
know.
word for teenage
I
brain
know.
than
And I
absurd.
know that, like, 99% of teenagers out there feel the same way. Like,
And they're listening to
Nobody
you right
gets
now,
it.
and they're like,
I know.
fuck you.
I
You
know.
don't
And fuck you
know."
too.
Queer older. Fuck you. You're
yeah.
so old.
Fuck you right back.
Fuck you right back.